short head, Valavi Kavika Gunalan. I'm just so glad to see so many of you here today and proof that you also had nowhere better to be on Valentine's Day. Hi, fellow lonely people. I was actually terrified when they first organized this. I was terrified that nobody was going to show up because it's Valentine's Day. And then I was terrified that people would show up. I told my mates, I said, I am shitting bricks about this show that is an actual medical phenomenon. And my mates, or my American friends, were like, why? You got this, girl. Americans have like a real excess of optimism. I noticed this when I moved here about 9 years ago, just an abundance of optimism about so many things. And I have seen that abundance plummet, in recent years, recent days even. But there's still a belief here in America that anyone can be anything. Like a doctor could be a comedian, a woman could be president. Oh no, not that one. There are limits to your optimism and your beliefs, misogynist. So I'm telling my friends I'm fearful, and we're talking a lot about fear because it just seems like a terrifying time to be alive right now. There are locust swarms in East Kenya of biblical proportions. There are people walking around with masks on in the Bay Area and gloves, dousing themselves in alcohol gel or just straight up vodka, worried about the coronavirus, which I'm like, think about that. You are freaking out over an outbreak that is more than 10,000 miles away, in a country where you take your medical advice from Jim Carrey and let the Goop newsletter lead you into multiple measles outbreaks. Gwyneth Paltrow has a lot to answer for. But my friends were asking me seriously, like, what is it that you fear? And what's the worst that could happen? And I was like, well, I'm scared because I'm a doctor in a comedy club. And not only that, but I'm a Muslim doctor in a comedy club. And just the Muslim part is a regularly terrifying experience. And I said to my friends, I'm terrified because I could crap and then I'm gonna bomb and I wanna be in a club and bomb. And they were like, whoa, 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 you don't get to use that B word. I am being censored. This is an infringement of my human rights. I should be able to say the B word. But they were like, no, maybe you should cancel. Don't have time to get deported again right now. We're in the middle of the semester. They were saying, you know, we're just worried because when you get into everything, you just chat, 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 and you're just going to say the B word. Like, do not say the B word. So I was like, okay, I get your point. I feel very censored. But I get your point because words are powerful. And I'm a journalist as well. I teach journalism at the moment. And I'm always banging on to my students, be deliberate with your words, right? Words hold power. Be intentional with your words. Like, don't say economic anxiety when you can say racist. Don't say USA when you can say white supremacy. Say the thing that you mean. And I think my students get what I'm saying. But do you know who really understands the power of words? And who really understands the power of words to incite fear? Children. Children get this, it just inherently. So let me tell you about one kid who really understands this. This is my nephew, he's 4 years old. And just a backstory, my family's in the UK. We are a very bizarre mix of goofy and funny, but also very uptight and super religious. So I refer to my family as super Muslims. So I'm in the UK, I'm just chilling out, I'm sitting with my cousin Usama and my nephew Jihad, and yeah, that wasn't the funny part, but yeah, the jokes do write themselves. And Jihad is super cute, and so I'm reading him a book about farm animals. And I'm like, what's your favorite farm animal, Jihad? Is it a cow? Does a cow go moo? And Jihad's like, mm-mm. I'm like, so what is your favorite farm animal? And this brat jumps out of my lap, flings this book across the room and screams, pig! And I'm like, that what? Meanwhile, my auntie's like, pig, pig, oh my God, who said pig? Allah Akbar, pig! And then my uncle hears her and then he starts starts freaking out. My cousin Osama's jumping over the sofa, and I'm like, we are in your terraced house in the middle of the city. There are no live animals. The only ones that do arrive come in the back garden. We slaughter them very quickly. That is a different story. But I'm like, there are no pigs here. But Jihad is watching, right? Because kids watch us. They know exactly what we're feeling. And he's like, all right, he's onto something with this 3-letter word. And because my family are super Muslims, we're actually banned. Speaking of banned words, we're banned from saying pig. Right, seriously. So when in my family's home or around family members, we have to say the P word, or we have to say it backwards and say gip. Again, the jokes write themselves, right? We're super Muslims, this is what super Muslims do. So then Jihad, being a relative of mine and just being super intelligent, he turns 5, and then he tries this thing. He will run into a room at family functions where there are not only our elders, but also imams and mullahs, and he will scream, "Piglet!" Because the kid has range. And everyone loses their shit. One person gets scared, another person gets scared, so he really understands the power of words. And so I take my friend's point, I'm not gonna say the P word, I'm not gonna say the B word. And it is funny, I think, to make jokes about fear. I think about that a lot, but it's a very unifying human experience. And I myself used to have a very deep-seated fear of pigs, being from a super Muslim background, but I did the responsible thing and I had treatment. I had exposure therapy for pigs, which involved being strapped into a chair, watching that movie Babe, and being force-fed Percy Pig candies, but the halal version. We weren't gonna fuck around with no gelatin, it wasn't going that far. But something that used to really, really scare me back in the day was coming to America. And I was really scared to first come here because I went to med school in England, and what we get taught in med school in England during our infectious diseases rotation is this. The professors say to us, future doctors, be really careful when you go to America. Be really careful what you touch and who you touch, because there is herpes everywhere. And so I'm a med student, right? We all are med students, so we write it down, we highlight it 3 times, we memorize it, we turn that into a flashcard. America, herpes, herpes, America. And so I moved here, and I felt like the only responsible thing to do was to wear a hazmat suit. So this is me when I first moved here. I felt like this was the responsible adult way to exist in America. It just became a bit hard, like weighing my shiitake mushrooms in Whole Foods while also lugging an entire oxygen cylinder around. It was a bit of a sweaty mess, and shopping for lingerie, like, forget it. So I thought, this is ridiculous. It's really expensive to keep shipping the oxygen tanks. I just need to fact check this because I've just been living with this belief that my very prestigious professors told me. So I look, is there really more herpes? And is there herpes like all over America? And you know what? It turns out there is a lot of herpes. But it's like maybe not that much more than there is in the UK. So my theory is that in the UK, they teach us about American herpes and not British herpes. Maybe, I don't know, that's like a more refined or uptight strain. They tell us about American herpes because they don't want to talk about Brits having sex. Because Brits don't talk about sex. We talk about the Great British Baking Show. But the thing about us and our food is so much of the food that we eat is named very sexually. So my favorite dessert, for example, is spotted dick, which is delicious. I started eating that in school with my school lunches, and spotted dick is especially good when it is steaming hot. Those of you that haven't tried it, you can have it hot, always have it freshly baked, and then you can have it with custard or with cream. I recommend clotted cream right on top of the dick. It's a really good consistency. That's a good one, but then there's other stuff too. Let me think, off the top of my head. Okay, Scotch woodcock. We love to eat Scotch woodcock. That is, and I've not had this, this is a slice of toast with a thin layer of anchovy paste and then scrambled eggs on top. I just prefer my cock a bit less fishy. And definitely not Scotch. Okay, British people love to eat faggots. I can't eat faggots because I'm Muslim, but some of you, I know some of you do eat faggots. Faggots are meatballs made of organ meat and pork intestines, pig intestines. That's right, P-word intestines, sorry. Don't tell my family about this. But you know, like there's the spotted dick and the Scotch woodcock and the faggots, which I think explains why the national dish of England is chicken tikka masala. Because the Brits are like, fuck off back to your own country, please leave your food. I'm racist, I'm hungry at the same time. I have seen a lot of spotted dicks in my life, the actual spotted dicks, like in a professional capacity, of course. And so when I came to America and I was wearing this and I was really concerned about herpes infection, just, you know, kind of like being everywhere, I found out there is a man here who is widely and respectfully known as the godfather of herpes. He's an American doctor, and this godfather of herpes just has an epic level of herpes knowledge. Like, this is the guy, he's just amazing. And so this is what he says. He says that when he used to teach about herpes, he would teach like this, because there's two main kinds of herpes when we think about STDs. So he would do this, the godfather of herpes. He would say, draw a line across your body here, and then HSV1 is up here, and HSV2 is down there. But now when he teaches, he's like, forget that line, the herpes is everywhere in America. And the way that he described it, and these are his words, is that it's everywhere because of the mixing and matching of mucous membranes. Now, I would like to break that down for you, but I'm British, so I can't talk about sex. So I'm going to use a baking analogy to talk about herpes. And I think like the mixing and matching of mucous membranes is like when you're baking a spotted dick, but you put too much flour in it, so it gets too dense, and then the raisins and the currant sink. So like where the HSV1 was up there, it becomes 2 and it's down there. I don't know, I'm not trying to think of a good baking analogy for this. But yeah, it's kind of like all over the place. Then when I actually did move, I did actually wear this, and the reason I wore the hazmat suit legitimately was because I moved here for a very specific job. I came to the US about 9 years ago to be an officer in the epidemic intelligence service at the CDC. So this is the squad of doctors and scientists who are trained and deployed at a moment's notice, go into the center of a contagion and are tasked with stopping that disease spread. Hence the suit, but also the herpes was a good cover. And I came here for that job because I'd heard about the herpes here and thought I will selflessly sacrifice myself in America in order to make sure that I can just, you know, try and help out, make sure there's not much contagion here. And one of the things that I learned, first off, in my first outbreak, was one of the things that you have to do early on is find all of your cases. I'm sure you're hearing about this with the new coronavirus outbreak, but find all of your cases and then map who knows who and how they know each other. And you're trying to do that to figure out the kind of social network of the epidemic. And it can be really helpful and tricky, but really helpful early on to try and figure out who knows who and who is connected to who. It also helps you think about like how bad is this outbreak gonna get, how far is it gonna spread, how many people are gonna die. And as you do this, you build, kind of looks a bit like a spider's web, it kind of gets messy, and it really helps you get a handle on the outbreak. But the thing that I learned that blew me away is in the center of an epidemic, it's not just the disease that is spreading, right? So I know we know about the spotted dicks and we know about the herpes, like with an infection, the microbe goes from one person to another, and that's how it gets passed along, and that's how you get contagion. But infection is not the only thing that spreads. We get emotional contagion. That's like my nephew Jihad screaming pig, and one person shouting and getting scared, then another person sensing that fear, even if they haven't heard the word, the P word, and then they become scared, and then that can spread too. So I know I kind of made a case for being lonely, which I might be, but I'm not alone when I go to bed at night. I take a very hot bitch with me, a white bitch, to bed at night, just to cuddle, which makes me a bad Muslim because 1, she is a she, and 2, she is a pit bull. Yeah, she should get with well, she's amazing. Me and my dog Lily like to cuddle, and the studies show that my neuroses about the bedroom having to be exactly 72.15 degrees Fahrenheit, that neuroses passes on to my dog, and vice versa. Her emotions, her fears, and her anxieties also spread to me. And it's not just intra-species emotional contagion, there's also contagion of emotion between humans. So like when I'm in professor mode, say I'm in my classroom and I'm like just freaking the fuck out about something, my student here will sense that anxiety, then the one next to her will sense that anxiety, and it gets passed on and on and on. And if you came into my classroom at that point, took blood samples from my students, their blood cortisol levels would have spiked and would continue to spike during the classroom while I am freaking the fuck out. And then there is also another kind of contagion, and I know I probably got you a bit worried, maybe a little bit paranoid about herpes right now. Maybe you were already scared about the coronavirus contagion, but I really want to make a case to you about another virus that you need to be very concerned about. Herpes is not the only thing that you can get from your Hinge day or your Grindr day or your Muslim matrimonials day, mashallah, those of you who saw my ad on there. There is another virus in town, and this virus is bullshit. The bullshit virus is spreading at pandemic levels, and this is really the outbreak that I wish the World Health Organization would designate an international emergency, because that shit is just spreading everywhere. So one of the things that blew my mind when I was investigating outbreaks, remember I told you I would make that spider's web network of who was infected, who did they know, who would they go on to spread their virus to? Well, now that I study the spread of disease and bullshit, I draw the exact same networks of how bullshit spreads. So one person chats shit on Twitter, the tweet goes viral, and when you look at the dynamics of how that spreads from like one person to another, you end up with spatial networks that look just the same as the disease contagion networks. And not only that, but when I'm investigating an epidemic, I use mathematical models, their differential equations, plug in loads of assumptions, like the size of a city, how infectious that particular microbe is, and then what you're doing is you're trying to ask your model, how bad is this particular epidemic gonna get? How many people might die? How many countries will it spread to? And it's amazing that you can actually use the exact same mathematical models, the same differential equations to map the contagion of bullshit. And the similarities don't just end there. There's another phenomenon. Say in the outbreak now, we're learning that probably on average, one person with the infection can go on to spread the infection to maybe 2 people, maybe we think 2 or 3, something like that. In every epidemic, there will be some people who instead of going on to spread 2 people, they'll spread it to 80. Right? We saw this during the SARS epidemic. We saw this during SARS coronavirus. These people are called super spreaders. And it's so good if you can get a handle on the super spreaders early on, because it really helps you get a good grip on the outbreak early on. And we can get into the Q&A maybe later, like why some people are super spreaders. But again, same analogy. Whether it's coronavirus spreading, whether it's bullshit spreading, there are super spreaders of both disease and super spreaders of bullshit. Maybe you have a friend who bought the vagina candle from Goop, and maybe they just like bought one. I don't know whether Gwyneth Paltrow said it was made with her own secretions. I can't remember like what exact bullshit they were spewing for that one. But maybe that person bought one and just told you. But I guarantee there'll be someone else who buys a dozen candles and then tweets about the candles and then sends a newsletter to like 80 people about, you should buy this candle, it rejuvenated my vagina. Those are the super spreaders of bullshit. We saw it again during a different epidemic. This was in Saudi with another coronavirus, MERS coronavirus. Again, you might get one person that just goes on to infect a few people, and then you get the super spreaders of bullshit. Hey! Okay, so firstly, it's the P word. And secondly, you can't scare me with your dirty American words. I've had therapy for that. But those of you who shouted pig, you are the super spreaders of bullshit. You are the folks who will read a thing, not ask any questions, just take it at face value, and just share the damn thing. Right? So you're the that we need to watch out for. But it's good to know that. Look around, take notes. So there's so many similarities, right, between disease contagion and information contagion. So there's some good news about that. Because if they're so similar, if we're using the same equations, we're seeing the same phenomenons like super spreaders, then why not use the thing that we use to stop disease to stop bullshit? And what is it that we use to stop disease? Well, yeah, if we have it, and if people believe that they work, we try and disseminate vaccines during an outbreak to stop more people becoming infected. And it turns out there is a vaccine for bullshit. It was invented in the 70s. The bullshit vaccine is known more academically as inoculation theory. And it's a really, really fascinating phenomenon that I get to study. And here's how the bullshit vaccine works. It works like this. I have to be an early detection and early warning system for you. So I have to say, incoming bullshit, and not only give you a bullshit heads up, but also break down for you. Like, what's incoming? Why is it bullshit? And I have to counter it with the truth for you. And there's so many studies that show that this actually works. If you give people that heads up and you break it down, you're not just saying don't believe it, but you're saying don't believe it and here's what you should believe. And by the way, please don't spread the bullshit, spread the truth, then you can stop bullshit contagions, right? We've known about this for a few decades. And I find this amazing, but there's also a problem. And that problem is I have to be the early warning system, right? I have to detect the bullshit early, and sometimes there's so much incoming bullshit that you just can't see it all. The bullshit's just coming thick and fast, and it's coming from this direction and this direction. The president's saying something, and Gwyneth Paltrow's saying something, and it's just too much bullshit. And by the time you see it, the bullshit has spread absolutely everywhere. So here's what I'm working on. This is my new invention that I'm developing, and I don't know if it's just because I live in Silicon Valley now and I feel like I need to invent something, but I want something that can protect us all from the bullshit before we see it coming. So I am developing an ideas condom. Like, it's just a general prophylactic that protects you from all of the bullshit. So like, say you're getting ready for your day and you're dancing, playing music, you're putting on your lip gloss, maybe you take your daily PrEP pill to protect from HIV, you put your condoms in your purse, and then you put your ideas condom on. And with the ideas condom, you're on your date, and then you're doing your tequila shots, your halal tequila shots, and your date starts chatting shit about how they subscribe to the Goop newsletter, and maybe they burn a vagina candle or two, and maybe they do like coffee enemas, maybe they think that vaccines are the devil, all of that bullshit, but your ideas condom protects you. And the reason that you need that protection at that level is because of trust. So yeah, we're susceptible to misinformation and bullshit all the time, but we are especially susceptible to bullshit from those in our inner circle, our lovers, our families, our friends. So in those situations, we especially need the ideas condom. Now, because I'm a little bit of a basic bitch when it comes to design, I envision the ideas condom as almost like a literal condom, but just a bigger one. So you just like roll it over you. But because I have had elite medical training, I realized there were some asphyxiation issues there. Which I just think, like, if you are on a date and they're saying vaccines are the devil, then maybe asphyxiation isn't such a bad idea. And say it's like a really good date, then maybe a little asphyxiation isn't a bad idea either. Just a little. So I know there are about 12 venture capitalists in here because you walked in and invested and I could see you a mile off. So please invest in my ideas condom. I really think that it could address the bullshit pandemic that no one else is really talking about. And then talk to me afterwards. I even have some bullshit vaccines. I'm Dr. Seema, Yasmin. Thank you so much for coming.